Welcome to the Traders Clinic, your regular shot in the arm with trader insights, philosophy and knowledge, brought to you by two professional money managers, Ali Crooks and Charlie Burton.
In each episode, we answer your burning questions and cover all things from the world of trading. So we're back.
Indeed. We are indeed. It's been a long time.
So today's big subject, I thought this was a really interesting one.
Yeah.
The pressures of trading.
There's many pressures of trading, and this topic came up from a message that came through from a trader. He's 3 years into his trading and hasn't made any money. He said, I've done the full 10,000 hours. I've done the back testing. Worked on strategies. He's done a lot of work on all sorts of technical aspects of trading, but he's not at the moment yielding any material return. It's not like losing catastrophically, but he's not profitable, let's just say, overall. So that's a pressure, because he's going to say, well, hold on a second, as he is. And I'm loving what I'm doing, by the way. That's an important
That's really
thing.
good. Yeah.
He loves it, but he's feeling the pressure because he's 3 years in and he's not overall profitable yet. He doesn't believe that he is. Added to that, and this is such an important one when it comes to traders, he's got some personal friends that he told that he got into trading, and his wife is not very happy either because they are putting pressure on him now, saying, look, you've been doing this endeavor for 3 years. Surely by now you should be profitable. I think each one of them individually is saying, I think you should quit. Now that is a pressure.
Huge pressure. It was interesting because when you were telling me about his scenario when we were in the cab on the way over, my first thought is, I wonder if he's pushing too hard, because you said he's doing everything right. He's doing all the technical elements right, by the sounds of it. But what he could be doing unknowingly is actually he wants the success, and he's striving for that success. He will be fully aware that he's been doing it for 3 years, and he's probably putting enough pressure. Although he's getting that external pressure, he's probably also putting pressure on from himself. So there's all these points that are coming in. And the risk is, unbeknown to him, that might be influencing the decisions that he makes. He could be chopping strategies, changing, over-optimizing. There could be a million and one things he's actually doing wrong in his execution, even though on paper it looks like he's ticking every box of what he's supposed to be doing to be successful. But I think it's interesting that once you have external pressures, it's very easy. And I've worked with traders who have got that external pressure, or they're putting a huge amount of internal pressure, and that manifests itself almost in every single trade that they place. Every loser has a greater sense of loss to it, because it's a reflection of the fact that as yet they haven't been successful, when in fact it's just a losing trade.
Well, the outcome of every trade becomes such a huge thing that you're stuck. So the advice that I'd be giving, there's a few things actually. One is he needs to speak to his wife and these friends who are judging him almost on a monthly basis, saying, "Oh, you haven't made any money yet," or whatever. So he needs to sit down and try and explain to them, because otherwise they're not going to let go, because they're going to say, come on, you've been doing this all this time. 2, let's actually look at careers. So if we look at airline pilots, 4 years to get qualified, lawyers, Christ knows how many years to get qualified, architects, 7 years. And yet, so we have all these professions out there in life, and yet people think that they can get into the markets and they should be profitable within a year. And so unfortunately, it's not as straightforward a lot of the time. Actually, a common window of people turning the corner from what often happens is people spend their first couple of years all over the place. Then they sort of stabilize a bit, but they're still not making money into that 3rd year or even 4th year. The amount of traders I've come across who said it was sort of year 4, 5 that the light bulb went on. So they've gone on this journey and they've put all that effort in, but it was year 4, 5 really where everything seemed to come together. And a lot of the time it's the soft skills. So he's focused at the moment on all the technical aspects, but it's the soft skills the mental skills of being able to deal with all of the, the frustrations that would otherwise be there, where someone, a more experienced trader, would just shrug that off. So they're not getting frustrated like he is. He's probably then enacting badly on future trades, whereas the more skilled trader might be taking the same trades and having different results. So there's a lot of factors going on, but I would want to say to that person, don't be despondent because you're not out of the norm. You're not, forget what is there on social media and what people are saying. A lot of traders don't become successful until years 4, 5 or more. In fact, I've met plenty of traders who said, well, it was year 7 that I, turned profitable. So don't quit, but you might have to if you've got too much pressure there. But by all means, sit down and try to explain to your friends and your wife, the fact that this is no different to any other career. If you went to university for 3 or 4 years, well, that's your education. 3 years in, it's just your education at the moment. You're acquiring knowledge and learned experience.
Very wise words. I think as well, by having that conversation and by, again, changing his time and space horizon, his perception, it's like it's the valve. He's taking the pressure. He's releasing some of the pressure, because at the moment, like we've already said, that pressure is there on every single trade. And if he doesn't have those difficult conversations, he doesn't change his own perception and their perception, the chances of it actually changing are very, very small. And I think if they can understand that, and he can do a good enough job of explaining, look, this is no different to any other career, that will also help his own perception, because he could be just as frustrated with himself as they are with him as
exactly.
well.
Yeah.
So great, really good.
Bit of work there.
Yes. Right. First question. Interesting question, this. I like this. Do you still, and this is to both of us, look to add in new tools and techniques to your trading? If you're looking at me. I'd say the answer is yes, because I don't simply trade in a certain way and right, that's it. I'm open to looking at new tools, new ideas, maybe the way that I collect the data or interpret the data from my trade. Maybe there is an indicator or a way of analyzing that if I was to add that into my trading, it might help my trading. But I'm very careful, even though I've been doing this a long period of time, I'm very careful to make very small changes to anything I'm doing. I'm certainly not in a position where, like most traders out there, they'll see a video about a super duper indicator, and the next thing you know, they've plugged it into their trading. And yes, my trading over the 20 years is not the same as it was when I first started out. So yes, your trading evolves, but for me, it's very, very minimal changes. I'm not waking up in the morning and thinking, I learned something at the weekend, let me apply that, and then 2 weeks later the same thing. So yeah, it's pretty samey and pretty boring, but yes, I'm open to learning new things and maybe having a different approach to what I do.
See, he says all the right things there. I'm just going to say no. Not overly, but I think you said it very diplomatically. You said you're open to things. So I've got my approach, my style, and really over the last. But you're right. Everyone's style evolves. Yeah. So it's only been sort of within the last 5 years that I completely eliminated day trading. That's still a change. It's not a technical change. It's just a time change, but it's still a change. So I think, will I be trading exactly the same today in 5 years' time or 10 years' time? I don't know. But what I do know is that the bulk of my trading today is what I was doing, all the analysis and stuff is what I was doing 10 years ago.
Same.
So I think, coming back to what you said, any changes that do happen are subtle. I'm, like you said, I'm not looking for things, but sometimes patterns in the market evolve and over time, and you think, I'm going to, that might be quite useful within my analysis, but I'm not looking actively for things to add in because I'm content with what I use. But there are subtle things that you might notice in the markets, and of course the markets change. Yes. So, in 2 years' time, at the moment, over the last 18 months, what's been the biggest driver of the Forex markets from a news perspective has probably been the inflation story.
Yeah.
Well, in 2 years' time, the inflation story probably won't be the big driver. So CPI reports will go back to being fairly nonchalant again, and it will be whatever, non-farm payrolls or another report, might be whatever else is going on in the world. So you evolve with that, certainly, but to say, oh yeah, I'm just going to go and pick an indicator and I'm going to actively look for new strategies, I'm not doing that.
No, I think if you were to take a screenshot of my chart now and go back 10 years, the chart will look the same. I'm not adding in indicators,
exactly.
But I might pay a little bit more attention to sentiment. That might be something that I go, okay, that I can use that very subtly to potentially improve my trading. And for me, it's more something might come towards me that I happen by chance to come across or put more focus on. I'm certainly not out there searching, and I think it's the same for you.
Exactly that.
Good.
Yeah.
And to our last question. I love this. What do you think are the top traits among the top 10% of traders?
Yeah, this was a story I was told just this week, actually. And this was a study that was done by a stockbroker, an online stockbroker, I think. Obviously, maybe they take calls as well. I'm sure they do. But so it was more a study of their clients who hold share portfolios. And so they looked at what were the attributes of the top 10% of all of their clients. And the attributes were that they were mostly dead. So
on that bombshell.
Yeah. So I think the point of what this study was that because a lot of clients, die over time and people forget they've got share portfolios and stuff. So these accounts are just sitting there with these share portfolios and the shares are just rising over time. So what they found was their best performing traders or investors, should I say, were basically, it was a time thing. And as Warren Buffett often says, the best performing investors are the ones who leave it alone and don't interfere too much. And so I thought that was quite interesting. And obviously this broker study was quite interesting that, their best performing investors are it's just because they've held on to their positions for so long because they're not here anymore.
Which is sad, but there's like you said, there's a really interesting lesson there. And I think you could also take, not the fact that they're dead, because if you're dead, you can't trade, but that their portfolio is taking a long-term view, shall we say.
Yeah.
And I think I've been saying this on some of the videos I've been doing, is that actually if you can take some of the attributes of an investor mindset and apply that to trading, not that you would change your trading approach, you still should have your strategy and your system, but if you can take a longer-term view on that, and you're not looking at your results over a week, over a month, you're far less likely to change and over-optimize what you're doing. And it's probably the same with investing. There's probably a lot of investors out there that have the intention of staying in a stock or a share, and then there's a downturn or something happens and they bail out of it. And the fact that they're not there to do that means they're not there to fiddle with their positions or change their long-term plan.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. Investors do the same thing, as you say. As soon as you go into a downturn, a correction in the market, then they jump out and all of that. But traders can take this information and say, well, how does this apply to what I do? One of the things you've just referred to there, as far as having a longer-term view within their performance, but also on a trade-by-trade basis. Look at what your holding period, whether you are an intraday trader and you're jumping out after 3 minutes, or, well, could you see if you could increase that holding period to 30 minutes or whatever? So it's all relative to whatever type of trading you do. So if you can hold for a little bit longer, as these studies keep on showing, you might have a few more losing trades, and stop outs, but overall, it's likely you're going to be more profitable. So it's well worthwhile constantly looking at your overall profitability rather than win rate. And how can you be more profitable? Sometimes it is that, well, actually, I'm banking on profits too soon. I need to pretend that I'm asleep.
Learn from the dead. And on that note, his name's Charlie Burton.
And his name's Ali Crooks. Trade safely out there.